Ladies and gentlemen, I am SidAlpha. Now, a couple of days ago, there was a rather large dust-up in regards to Activision issuing a DMCA takedown of the Trek Industries video game Orion from Steam, citing copyright infringement of 3 separate weapons: the M8A7, the BAL-27, and the Haymaker rifles. Now, the lead developer for Trek Industries, David James, was very quick to discount Activision's actions, stating they were patently false, even going so far as to posting comparison images to mislead people into believing they were the innocent little indie dev being picked on by the big bad corporation. Now, even in spite of my previous videos showcasing some of the developers' previous duplicitousness, I wrongfully rushed to the defense of Trek Industries, showcasing how Activision's actions could be taken as an act to increase search rankings during Steam's summer sale, so as to help their sales of the Call of Duty franchise. Now, for this lack of foresight and in my eagerness to relate a story to all of you, I committed the cardinal sin of impatience, and before all of the facts came in, and because of that and previous mistakes, I will be placing myself on a 24-hour minimum ban on relating news stories, so correct facts will have a chance to come out. Now, thankfully, in spite of actions that myself and others had taken, the wonderful Redditors on the PC Master Race subreddit went and found models from both games and did a genuine comparison of the weapons to determine the validity of Activision's accusations. And as is no great surprise, an unvarnished comparison by some extremely talented people who despise being bullshitted in true PC gamer form, it shows that the gun assets did contain a good deal of matches, showing that these were duplicated assets. Now, I have also seen a good deal of arguments that have been ranging from guns will look similar to the differences between trademark law, copyright law, and fair use. So I wanted to go through some of these a little bit so we can actually dispel some of the arguments instead of creating some new ones and institute some facts into the conversation. First, let's start with the character of the developers themselves. Now, first we have Trek Industries, formerly Spiral Games, and creators of the Orion Prelude and Orion video games. Now, in previous videos I showcased, and it is readily shown across the internet, the developers' shady practices with the Orion Dino Beatdown video game. Now, the Dino Beatdown Orion was janky and broken, also featuring what later was found to be stolen assets, and was vilified within the gaming community. Now, the developers pulled the game off of Steam amid a sea of negative reviews and PR backlash to later re-release an admittedly much improved product as a new title in order to avoid the previous sea of negative reviews that were left for the game. Now, in addition to that, the developers were accused by multiple artists within the industry that their work was essentially stolen, having been hired to create assets and then never actually paid for their efforts. There have even been instances where the developer has threatened to sue in order to silence criticism. Now, this is the history of these developers, and it paints a pattern of very negative behavior. Now, conversely, we have Activision, a multi-million-dollar gaming corporation that, while yes, I admit is probably pure fucking evil, has never been, according to any research that I was able to find, ever accused of stealing assets. Also, a company such as this must protect its intellectual property as a result. The result of not doing so is very dangerous, as it could cost the company said intellectual property. And failure to protect your IP sets legal precedent for future potential cases, and as such, large companies like Activision, BioWare, EA, all of them, they guard their copyrighted materials zealously, and they are right to do so. BioWare recently did something similar with a group that were running a stock World of War, I believe it was stock World of Warcraft site. They had to pull that down because it was copyright infringement, and it's unfortunately one of those things where it's either a case of protect it or lose it. Now, there is basically Activision's standpoint. Now, let's look at the argument about it's an image of a gun, they're going to look similar. And, well, yes, you're right. Those of you who do make that statement, you're absolutely correct. If you had an image of an AK-47 or AR-15 or even a bar, they would look similar, very similar, and some similarities are going to happen. However, these guns do not exist in real life. They only exist within the realms of the video game world, and as such, these guns should look very little alike. And here, we are clearly shown exact matches on several parts of the guns, showing us that these are indeed using the same assets. Now, some people are still arguing that this is even fair use, and to that I have to say, no. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. Fair use was never intended for these purposes and does not cover using someone else's IP to sell as your own. That is misrepresentation, if I can get my mouth to work properly, plain and simple, and would not only violate fair use, but would also, as this case does, violate copyright law. No, I'm sorry, fair use does not apply when you are selling a product. So, where does that leave us? Well, that leaves us having been lied to, and once again, mistakenly misleading people. Now, Trek Industries is guilty. The actual evidence has borne that out. To what lengths Activision decides to take this, we'll only be able to wait and see, as there's still no official statement has been released by Activision in regards to this, and there may not be. This would be, one would think that would be the end all, be all of it. That would be it. Point made. Truth outed. A developer who has a history of claiming victimhood when they're clearly and blatantly in the wrong in regards to asset theft has once again tried to pull the wool over people's eyes, and I almost fell for it. Hell, lots of people did, and will probably continue to do so. But like I said, it doesn't end there. Now, in regards to a deluge on the Reddit forums, David Prassel threatened Redditors with lawsuits in regards to their statements they made online. One Redditor posted the following images from Dave Prassel, stating, "Delete your thread, or we will sue you for all you're worth." Hey, this is David from Trek Industries. I would like to offer everyone a chance to delete their posts before our lawyers get involved on this matter. We will be pursuing lawsuits against everyone and anyone involved in spreading malicious falsehoods about me, Trek Industries, or Orion. If you delete your post now, you can still avoid heavy fines and perhaps even prison. Now, another response to Redditors that he posted says the following, where a Redditor states, "You and your company are confronted with hard evidence that you lied to the public while misrepresenting your company and your product, and then you have the sheer audacity to publicly threaten those who contribute to the post." To which David Prassel responded saying, "There's been no evidence posted, just photoshopped fakes by Activision and others trying to prevent my game from being sold." Now it continued with a Redditor stating, "You need to read up on the Streisand effect. Your game was on my wish list. It's not anymore, and I'll make sure that none of my friends purchase it either. Welcome to the internet." And Dave responded again with, "So what? This publicity is making us break sales records anyways. Sorry. And shortly after these posts were made, David Prassel stated that his Reddit thread had been hacked by someone in Russia and proceeded to offer proof. Only his proof there was a private IP address stating that it is Russian. Now, as an IT professional, I can attest to this. However, for proof, I can and Aaron Hua's records clearly show that the 192.168 IP range is for private use and is not in use by any public entity for a host of different reasons. Now, once again, blatantly lying and claiming victimhood where clearly none exists. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is the guy who also continued to say that they would not seek legal action against Activision for their actions, and then mere hours later state that they would be seeking recompense from Activision for lost revenue. How? How could you even accomplish that? Now, do you honestly think that a company like Activision will be willing to simply give you money? Because if that's the case, I'm clearly in the wrong fucking industry. Seriously. Now, also in recent statements, Prassel states, Activision never specified what assets of ours offended them or their company. They didn't specify this for the DMCA that took down the game, and they haven't specified it in our follow-up information. But David, that's just blatantly not true. I mean, you even showed yourself in a post older than this one that clearly states, on the behalf of Activision, alleges that the game Orion uses weapon art content from Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. The weapon art in question includes the M8A7 rifle, the Haymaker rifle, and the Bal-27 rifle. Use of this weapon art content without permission infringes Activision's copyright in Call of Duty Black Ops 3 and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now that shows you very clearly and in no uncertain terms what assets are in question, you fucking liar. Now, constant self-victimizing and outright lying and theft. These developers are, in my eyes, only better than Digital Homicide because they actually managed to create a game that wasn't complete and utter ass. And it, it offered value for its cost. Now, granted, that's not saying much for $1, but it was at least something. Now, with all of these actions being brought to light, I would advise anyone and everyone to avoid these developers like the plague in the future. You would only be bettering yourself and the gaming community as a whole. So that's all I have, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the potentially misleading previous report that I obviously gave people the wrong impression. Now, I know that this is not the first time I've made a mistake, and this wasn't even the first time I've made this mistake, but it will be the last. Patience will be learned, and accurate reporting of large events like this will be had in the future, and I hope that this video and videos like it will bear that out. So thank you once again. I am SidAlpha, and I will see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to use those like and dislike buttons down at the bottom in order to express either a job well done or your extreme displeasure, whichever the case may be. And if you're so inclined to hit that like button, please do exercise your right as a gamer of quality and taste to click the subscribe and share buttons. Also, I do have links for my Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon accounts if you're so inclined to support my channel even further down in the descriptions down below. The Patreon subscriptions do come with rewards and prizes, so please don't forget to give that a look at least. More reviews are on your panel to the left, and discussions and PC gaming news updates are usually in the panel to the right. Please feel free to keep watching, and thank you again for watching my channel.